Welcome to another episode of Breaking Mayberry, the show about two guys watching every episode of the Andy Griffith Show in order to learn a little bit about society and America and apple pie and ourselves.
And what is happening inside baby boomers' heads.
That's pretty much what it is. That's what we're going for anyway. And we've not made any progress on that front. I'm Marty Schneider.
I'm Dan Ludwig. We've begun to enter the labyrinth of a baby boomer's psyche. We're gonna crack it. It's gonna take at least 3 seasons.
And in the last episode, I actually finally confessed. I was like, "Hey, I like this episode. I like what we're watching on the Andy Griffith Show. This is really sweet. I understand why somebody would enjoy this." But the episodes we've got today blow out of the freaking water.
So, the thing I harp on these episodes a lot. I talk about various degrees in which they are shitty, and I think I remembered a quote recently that sort of crystallized my feelings on this, which is it was actually a quote by Dan Harmon, and he talks about how in the 70s pre-Jaws, a movie didn't have to have a big climax moment. It didn't need to fit this refined arc. His exact quote was, a movie could just be Gene Hackman wandering around a house and then he jerks off and shoots himself in the head. Basically, and this is sort of that, where they hadn't really, stories hadn't conformed to any sort of preset structure yet. So it was just, there are just entire episodes where, I'm just sort of marveling at what they got away with. Yeah,
and, this first episode is not a story. It's not a plot. It's Andy thought something, and he was wrong. The end. Ad for cigarettes.
There's no climax. There's no rising action and there's no falling action. It's just a series of events. It's sort of the most realistic story because, it is literally A happens, then B happens, then C happens, and then there's sort of a twist, but not really. If anything, there's an anti-twist.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. So, like I said, last week I said something like, I'm starting to understand what makes this the Andy Griffith Show. Why is this the show? And, with these 2 episodes, I'm back to just shaking my head at it. So our first episode is called Mayberry on Record. And it aired February 13th, 1961. This was directed by Gene Reynolds.
What are his previous credentials? Is he the horny one? Is this the horny director?
No.
Damn it!
Gene Reynolds, we met last time with Alcohol and Old Lace. Gene Reynolds, he also directed Andy the Marriage Counselor, which is the episode we should have done before this. But we're actually skipping one episode. So we're skipping Andy the Marriage Counselor because we're trying to get an actual marriage counselor to come onto the show and talk about it. It might work, it might not. But
we need an adult for Andy the Marriage Counselor. That show is full of so much real shit that we need, a professional.
It is definitely a topic that deserves better than us. So
yes, exactly. I am terrified of that episode.
So we're skipping that for now. We'll return back to it hopefully next week. This is Mayberry on Record, directed by Gene Reynolds, written by one of my favorite names, John Fenton Murray, and Benedict Freeman.
John Fenton Murray. That's better than Bob Sweeney. It sounds like the name of a Civil War general who died very poorly. Who did a Pickett's charge and then just, tripped and shot himself in the head by accident.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely what it is.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is February of 1961. I'll do the one-sentence Wikipedia description. A stranger comes to town to produce a record of Andy and a local bluegrass band. But Andy suspects he's a con artist. That's it. That's the episode. Let's move on, folks.
I mean, this episode, while being not very good, does feed into my running theory that Andy is a con man. He literally does a thing of a con man recognizes another con man. I've seen this move 1,000 times. when I did it all over Tennessee. Like,
yeah. I'm glad they fired this dude. You know what else John Fenton Murray wrote? Mayberry Goes Hollywood. Another episode I hated.
God, yeah, no, he is really, like, the sad trombone of writers.
And these are basically the same episode. Like, this is basically the same premise as Mayberry Goes Hollywood. Except, instead of everybody else losing their mind that the stranger came to town and did exactly what he said he was gonna do, this time it's Andy losing his mind. Other than that, these are identical episodes.
It's sort of a shitty version of those Gossipin' Men. Like, it's like a stranger comes to town and everyone thinks he's a producer, except he is. Like, it's just that it's those Gossipin' Men, but without the conflict or any sort of farce whatsoever.
Alright, so let's go ahead and actually talk about this episode. We start off with Andy cleaning out the courthouse. He's just kind of sweeping up. And then Barney comes in with doing the extremely libertarian pastime of complaining about taxes. He's got his paycheck in his hand, and he's complaining to Barney about how many deductions and taxes and things are there, and saying that after that, he doesn't have any money left. And Andy takes the side of the liberal government and says, look, those are all legitimate government deductions. And fortunately, they don't discuss it anymore, because I feel like that could have been an entire episode in itself.
Well, one thing, we've called Andy a libertarian before, because he doesn't really super believe in the law that much. But, so, Andy is taking a surprising stance in favor of the social contract and taxes. Like, he's... And he even says the line, like, you can't take it with you. And to which Barney says, if they keep taxing me like this, I'm surprised they'll let me go. Like, it's weird. We really can't get a handle on the economic
politics,
view. Yeah, no, he's slippery. He's hard to, like, we called him a libertarian, we called him a conservative, we've, like, a couple of times thought maybe he might be left-leaning. I have no goddamn idea at this point.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of consistency, which is, I guess, part of the reason why people like this show so much, because you can definitely project your own ideals onto Andy.
He's I'm gonna mispronounce it, Rorschach blot. You can sort of
blot test, Rorschach test.
Yeah, Rorschach test. You can sort of like look at him and see whatever you want.
So Barney comes in and he's complaining about how small his paycheck is after the taxes. He refers to himself as Barney Sucker, and which I guess
not even a pun.
It's not a good joke. Yeah. So Barney says that if he wants to make any real money, I guess I'll have to start investing. And Andy cautions him against investments because he says basically like, there are plenty of con men out there. I know, I'm one of them.
Yes.
And he says there's plenty of con men out there, and you are exactly the kind of fool that would get taken from your money. To prove this, he then cons Barney into taking a $75 deal to buy a nickel, because Andy convinces him that this is a rare, valuable nickel, that Andy is apparently a coin collector, and I find it very odd that, like, Barney would not say, we've known each other 3 years and have never seen you collect a coin, but whatever. So he pulls this nickel out of his desk.
The whole exchange is a really, like, terrifying, like, demonstration into Barney's level of competency. He demonstrates subpar spatial awareness. He can't tell left from right.
Correct.
When told, yeah. He might not have object permanence, and he has a gun.
Andy pulls a nickel out of his desk, and he says to Barney that if he wants to invest in something, he might want to take up coin collecting. Look at this nickel right here. See that buffalo on there? But it tells you how old this is. The buffalo's facing the wrong way. I bet this nickel is worth a couple $100. And there can't be more than 2 or 3 in the world. And Barney is intrigued by this, and he offers to buy that nickel from Andy for $75. Which, I didn't check, but I'm sure that was actually a lot of money in 1960s money.
So $175 back then was about $1,000. We determined that during Andy the Horse Trader.
Sure. So he was offering $75. So that's about $400.
Yeah.
So he offered him about $400 for this nickel, and he takes the nickel from Andy, compares it up against another nickel that's in his pocket, and realizes the buffalo are facing the same way. And that's when Andy tries to trick him and basically says, well, come over here, because now they're facing opposite directions, and Barney can't tell his right from his left.
He takes the coin away from him, turns it away from Barney, and says, no, it is facing a different direction. And Barney goes, oh, that makes sense, because as soon as Barney isn't looking at something, he no longer has any understanding of it whatsoever.
Right.
This man wields authority, and he has preschooler level, like, situational awareness. It's terrifying.
So Barney figures it out. He gets mad, and he curses out Andy. He never gives him the $75, which is good. And at that point, Ellie walks into the room and says, hi, here's what little of a plot we have. So she walks in with a newcomer to town, Mr. Maxwell, played by some guy. Guy's name is Hugh Marlowe. Again,
is that the character's name or the actor?
The actor's name is Hugh Marlowe.
That is the most old-timey actor name we have heard on the show yet, and it is just escalating more and more.
So Hugh Marlowe plays a character named Mr. Maxwell, who is a record producer. And he has come to town because he's looking for people to make some folk music album or something with. And he carries with him a giant, like, tape recorder that comes in a suitcase. And then they give a little demonstration. They hook it up in the office. Barney takes the microphone, but he kind of, like, gets caught up and stumbles on it. It's not really that funny, but whatever. We've established that this dude is a record producer. And Andy says, well, hey, would you be interested in hearing some folk from Mayberry play some songs? I've got a folk band, whatever. And then Barney busts out the stupid harmonica joke again.
Every time with that fucking harmonica. I think, and they don't let him play it again. He's like, hey, how about I play some harmonica for you again? And then he just blows on it 2 times, and then the scene is over. So it is literally, I can't tell if the joke is like it's a reoccurring bit of Barney never gets to play his harmonica, or if just the sight of a harmonica is a knee slapper to people.
Is that then supposed to be real funny that harmonicas exist? They have a Jew's harp in this episode later on.
But I think the joke must be, and we tried to figure this out. I think literally back then they were just like, oh, the harmonica is a shitty instrument for idiots. Look at Barney, who thinks that people are going to be impressed by his stupid tiny trumpet. Like, that's the best I got. Like,
they were anti-harmonica, I guess. I don't know. So then they go down to Floyd's barbershop, which is apparently where the band rehearses. And the band is Andy and a bunch of teenage boys. That's not weird.
The teenage boys look like they're being held at gunpoint. Their facial expressions are so terrified. It doesn't even look like they're a band that the show got. It looks like they were rounded up off the street and offered $20 to be on the show. They are all sweating bullets, screaming with their eyes, and have pursed lips. It is the picture of horror.
So they play this song called Flop-Eared Mule. And I can't tell if this is a traditional song, because the first time we see Andy in this episode, he is singing a traditional bluegrass song. He's singing Cripple Creek, which is a song I'm familiar with.
Flop-Eared Mule is in the Library of Congress.
Okay, alright. So this is a traditional song. So I'm not going to get too hung up on the lyrics, which are very, very silly. But it doesn't matter. So they play this song, Mr. Maxwell records it, and then they record another song, and people are getting out ready to leave, when Barney says something like, wow, do you really think that this album is going to be worth all the trouble? Mr. Maxwell, the producer, says something like, well, if I sell this record, I hope to make 25 cents per record sold. And then just some teenage punk, some dude who's in the band is just like, that doesn't sound like shit.
Yeah.
25 cents an album? That sucks,
first time
loser.
That any of them speak is just well, fuck you, idiot. Your stupid, your stupid life's calling. Well, this is a stupid fucking idea that you're doing. Right. It's kind of great that the first line is just him going oh, way to waste your life, idiot. I'm gonna go play this guitar more.
And Mr. Maxwell, to his credit, handles it pretty well, because he's just you apparently don't understand multiplication. He's
yeah.
Sure, yeah, I can sell 25 cents an album, but what if I sell 500,000 albums, man? Come on. And points out that, like, so he gets 25 cents an album, and the people who, like, are on the record there get, like, 3 cents an album, which is a pretty shitty deal. But whatever.
Yeah.
That's like it's like the standard royalty rate or whatever. And then, this is where stuff gets a little fuzzy. Floyd, of course it's Floyd, the opportunist, is just like, oh, what about those of us who aren't playing? What about those of us who had nothing to do with this? Shouldn't I have some money? Where's the money for Floyd?
Floyd, who is incredibly greedy and, like, the easiest person to con ever because he is willing to throw his money away at literally anything. Floyd asks the question, what about the people who aren't able to sing or play instruments? We deserve to make money off of this too. Which, do you, Floyd?
You
deserve to?
I guess,
no.
I guess he could make the argument that it was recorded in his shop, but still, that's a flat fee at most, Floyd. You don't get royalties. Like,
I feel like it's almost like a stealth takedown of investing, because Floyd is just like, what about, how do people make money when they don't have any discernible skills or talents whatsoever? And then the show is like, well, may I introduce you to the wonderful world of stock? Like,
okay, it does. It tries to do that, but it fucking fails. Because what's about to happen is Mr. Maxwell's like, wait, are you saying you want to buy shares of this endeavor? Because Mr. Maxwell's response is, look, I'm putting up my own money for this. That's why I get the most money, dick.
Yeah.
And Floyd responds, well, let us give you some money. And he says, Mr. Maxwell's like, are you saying you want to buy shares of this endeavor? And they go, yeah. And he goes, well, that's not. And at no point in time does anyone say, that's not how stock works. Like, you can't buy shares of a single product. I can't go to my, like, stockbroker, you know, that I totally have. I can't go to my stockbroker and be like, I would like to buy 500 shares of the Ford Fiesta. Like, well, Ford Motor Company is doing very well. No. Just the Fiestas. I don't want any money from those stupid trucks. I just want those sporty, spicy boys out on the frickin' road. Just the extremely trendy and surprisingly roomy Ford Fiesta.
Or if I started selling tamales out of the back of my car, and you were like, this seems like it's gonna really take off. I want to get in on this. And I'll be like, well, I'll sell you some stock. How? It's literally just a guy with a fucking recorder who is like, he doesn't have a company. He's just a motherfucker. Like,
it's just some dude.
Was a stock back then just an IOU, or does the Andy Griffith show not understand how stock works?
I don't understand. You can't just buy stock in a thing. You can't buy stock. And where's this money going? He's already made all of the investment. He's already, like, bought the hardware. This is all him. What is he doing?
He even says, like, I'm not a company that has stock. That's not a thing I do. I'm not public or anything like that. And they're like, come on. And he's like, well, alright. Like, no! You can't just, like, do stock. You can't, like, he's just basically writing IOUs. Like, this is, Andy's diagnosis of this as a con is a really, like dead-on thing. Just because no one involved in this situation adheres to anything close, like, none of this is legally viable.
If you would, however, like to invest in Breaking Mayberry, the show, you could donate to our Patreon that we don't have. Or you could send an email to us at breakingmayberry@gmail.com if you're interested in being our sponsor, Ford Fiesta.
1 sec, let me find my Venmo account. We'll just like edit that in here, just like where you can find me on Venmo. It gives you, similar to this situation, I have absolutely no legal obligation to you whatsoever. Maybe a handshake deal. If this ever makes money, I super duper promise to give you a percentage. You just want to Floyd it up with this?
Look, I know that we spent an entire, like, good chunk of this episode talking about how stock works and doesn't work, but you need to understand, that's the entire episode. Like, everything from here on out hinges on that. So now, the next scene we see is that Andy comes into the office the next day, and there's Barney reading the, like, market and business page of the newspaper. and talking about how the market was bullish and chemicals held steady or some stupid shit.
And smoking a cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Being a big, business-wise, this is all excellent business is essentially what he's doing. And he's acting real arrogant, real smug about it, as Barney's want to do whenever he thinks that he's onto something. And this, piques Andy's interest. Andy basically says, you fell for a con. There's no way that this person is legit. They just took your money.
He does not just say you fell for a con. He says you fell for the oldest con, which is making you think that it's your idea to give him money.
Really? Because I've heard that line and I was like, the oldest con is the old fake record company scheme?
What? There's an old line, you can't con an honest man, which is basically, you present this financial opportunity, and you just sort of present it as I have this thing, and then you just lay it out, you don't invite the person to it, and then you make them so greedy that they start scheming for ways to get in on your financial windfall, that they're willing to, use any amount of money or do anything to get in on it, and then you just skate away with the money they gave in. It is sort of an old thing of you never do a con where you're like, hey there, I have an offer for you. You come in and be like, oh man, here's this super exclusive money making opportunity I have that no one else is allowed into, and then fear of losing out just takes over, and you'll spend any amount of money to claw your way into it.
Sure. And that's what Andy thinks is happening here. And then he goes to the drugstore and he finds out that Ellie has also invested in this record. And that argument goes on forever, as do all of their arguments.
She only interacts with him by being pissed off at him. It's literally, they have I get why Eleanor Donahue eventually departs. They have the worst relationship. He just hurts her feelings. She only exists to to prove what an asshole he is. I don't understand why she even vaguely likes him. By all accounts, they are she's basically the antagonist of the show, but morally justified. They
have a fight here while she's making him a sundae, and then she punishes him and gets angry by spraying extra whipped cream on there. That's not a way to show that you're angry. That's just
not an effective power move.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me more of this delicious gooey substance than I would have had normally.
Hey, fuck you, I put extra cheese on your burger. Suck it. Eat shit. There's extra pepperoni on this pizza. Fuck off.
I'm gonna make you slightly less healthy. Your cholesterol levels can't handle this. Ha ha ha! Opie shows up for some dumbass reason just to remind us that this kid exists. And I don't even want to go into it.
We've made fun of a lot about the fact that Ron Howard's acting is mostly screaming. This time was so particularly bad. He opens the door and immediately goes, "Hello, Pa!" And just one time, I want someone to when Opie enters the room, just go "Oh, Jesus!" Just be startled by this tiny, Ron Howard just skitters around the show and screams. He's a terrifying little creature in this show.
Yeah. Take
that, Ron Howard. You're like a loud version of the Xenomorph.
The next thing that happens is we're treated to a short montage, again, of people coming to the hotel and performing for the stranger in town. It's the same fucking episode. So
it's exactly like those gossiping men. It follows the exact same structure, except bad.
Yeah, it's the same montage. Someone goes to the hotel, everyone performs. There's a violin, there's the harp, there's the band that comes back again, blah, blah, blah. Even if you like bluegrass music, which I do, this is intolerable.
I mean, how long is this fucking record? Because at one point, by the end of the episode, he's just recording, farmers blowing into jugs. It's literally, does he just have a sign that's can you do literally anything that sounds vaguely like music? It's in the record!
Is he made of tape? I don't...
Yeah!
That shit's gotta be expensive!
Is it a 3-record set? Like, is he selling a box set of, like...
Time Live's Best of Mayberry.
4 hours of jackassery featuring Mayberry. Like, it's so dumb. Like, again, the guy, none of this makes any sense. Andy is so dead on in thinking that this is a con.
Andy comes in and doesn't confront the dude. Just kind of like pokes around and then leaves. And then the next scene is Andy talking to the rest of the crew. Floyd, Barney, and some assholes. And they're just talking about how he believes it's a con. And Andy,
why does he need to Mean Girls this? He needs to like turn the crowd against him and like sway public opinion against the guy. He could have literally just gone into the hotel room and be like, "Hey, quick thing, I'm the sheriff. I need to see credentials that you're not a con man because I'm the sheriff. I'm Andy Griffith. I wield my authority like a lunatic. Just prove that you are who you say you are." Instead, he goes back to the crowd of other men and is he Mean Girls it. Like, he's like
super cliquey.
He doesn't round up a posse. He gets a sewing circle together and is like, well, you know what he said? He strongly implied that he was taking all of your money and getting out of town. Like, he gossips.
Again, another parallel to these gossiping men. There is a pretty funny joke here. Finally convinced to go check on it, Barney picks up the phone. He, grabs the phone, and he's, yells into it, "Okay, Cindy, get me Jason down to the hotel!" And then he, under his breath goes, "It's Barney! Barney Fife!" Then he has to do it again when Jason answers. That's a pretty good gag.
It's a solid bit.
I laughed at that. They find out that Mr. Maxwell has left. He's checked out. He's no longer in town. So, obviously, everybody gets all up in arms. They say, "Oh, holy crap, he left town with all of our money." And by this point, he's now turned Floyd and the 2 assholes against Mr. Maxwell. And they start, planning to go after him. There are 2 points where, in this episode, where Barney taps his gun, menacingly. The first time is when he fails at the microphone test, and he goes, "Well, I'm not much for talking." He grabs his pistol and says, "In my line of work, this baby does all the talking for me." And then...
Which, his terrifying thing of whenever he feels, he feels small or like a failure, he just waves around a pistol.
Yeah, any time. If he's, inconvenienced or slighted at the slightest bit, he just says, "Well, I've got this gun." He's really a poster child for gun control and gun management, which we'll get into in the next episode.
That pistol on his belt is phallic as all hell.
And then in this time, as they're planning on going after Mr. Maxwell, Barney gets real serious. Real serious. He's all, you know why he's real serious, Dan? Because it's a manhunt!
Manhunt!
And this time, because he's all in manhunt mode, he's like, "Oh, we're gonna get him. He's tapping his gun, anxiously. Meanwhile, Ellie just goes back to her job and enter Mr. Maxwell, who says, "Hey, guess what? I went to Virginia or something, and I sold our record. Hooray! Here's a check for $5,000. Which I guess is split amongst the town people now.
I trust you to distribute this fairly. I didn't have the time to do up multiple checks because I didn't distribute real stocks. They were just pieces of paper. I could have fucked off at any time.
So then they go back to the jail cell or the courthouse where everyone is planning their posse. And I want to point out, we see the return of the metal magnet map from Manhunt.
Oh, God, yeah.
It has a little bit of continuity. They are now planning out routes on the magnetic map in episode 2 that just made Andy so amazed. So, a little bit of continuity. They can't keep together who the hell is on the damn town council, but
But they know all the routes to hunt a man down. Like, so Barney Fife can very clearly shoot him in the back.
They made sure to get that metal map from Manhunt back.
Manhunt. Whoa, that was bad.
I like that one.
Oh, God.
God damn. So then they just walk in, like, the first person who sees him is Floyd, and he comes back and he says, well, looks like the criminals returned to the scene of the crime, and everyone's real smug about it, and Andy's the smuggest of all, until Mr. Maxwell is like, hello, hi, I have no personality, here's a contract. And Andy, again, thinks it's a con until he starts reading it, and he goes, oh, whoa, holy crap, National Records, you sold this thing. That's right, and here is a check for money dollars. And then Andy looks quite the fool, and then that's it. That's the episode. Bye, everyone.
Oh, God. Yeah, so they do this twist of, like, Andy was wrong, and Andy learns a lesson about how he needs to be more trusting. Literally everything that happened up until this point in the show indicated that Andy was right. I would have 100% made the same judgment. I don't know, like, the moral was bad, because the moral is don't like, logically evaluate anything that happens before you. Trust blindly and just throw your money around, because people are nice? Ellie said so? Was it a lesson about how Andy needs to trust Ellie more?
I don't think there's not a lesson here, man. There's nothing. This is a nothing episode. There's no conflict. I guess there's a tiny bit of a conflict, but there's no like twist. There's no plot. This isn't a plot. Andy was wrong about a thing that's a starting point. Go back and try again. This isn't a story.
This is one of the things where we sort of get to marvel at, like, the shit that could just count as an episode of television back then. If you put this on Full House, they would be like, there's not enough conflict here. It's kind of just like sort of like awe-inspiring to just watch, like, a writer back then just go like, fuck it. Yeah. I'm just gonna show a bunch of shit that, what if this happened? I guess it would go completely normally the way you would expect. Anyway, the episode's over. See you guys later.
Bye.
We'll probably get it on the next one. Which, in this case, they do.
So, yeah, let's just go on to the next one. The epilogue to this is they walk in and Barney's reading the Wall Street Journal. And we all have a good laugh. Whatever.
They do that joke already. They just do the joke the second time.
Yeah, it's the same joke. They did a harmonica joke 2 times in this episode, too. So, whatever.
Christ, fuck, I hate that stupid harmonica so much.
It's so stupid. I just let him play the fucking harmonica.
I'm Clint.
And I'm Jared.
And we're the hosts of the podcast Alka Hollywood.
Your source for inebriation.
Which you're not listening to right now, because this is just a promo for a weekly podcast on all kinds of movies. New, old, good, bad.
Yeah, especially bad.
Plus, we invent a cocktail and a drinking game inspired by each film.
And sometimes we make jokes. Not this time, but sometimes.
Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher and check out the whole shebang at alkahollywood.com.
Let's go on to the next episode. So this episode is called Andy Saves Barney's Morale, which makes no sense. God. Like, that's half the fucking scripts. Like, most of these episodes are Andy Saves Barney's Morale. But this one is...
This show is just Andy, like, being the catcher in the rye, but for Barney's feelings. Like, 90% of it, just keeping Barney from sinking into a deep, deep depression is half of Andy's job. Like, he does that, he protects Barney's feelings more than the actual town!
And that's actually exactly what happened in this episode. So this was directed by Bob Sweeney, and so are the next season and a half of episodes. These are all Sweeney's now.
Sentient handlebar mustache, Bob Sweeney.
And written by our good buddy David Adler, who we've seen before on...
Is this the horny writer? This the one?
David Adler's the horny one, yes.
Yes!
Yeah.
I don't think that comes up in this one, but I just like having him around.
It absolutely does! It does come up in this episode.
When does the horniness happen?
Like, Barney goes to his girlfriend to, like basically, I'm gonna go have sex with my girlfriend so I won't be so mad at this shit.
Oh, yeah. She gives him, like, a hand job to cheer him up or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. David Adler does, like he finds a way to, like they had the script written up, and he was like, can we have, like, some implied fucking? And they're like, God, I hate this part of your contract.
Okay, so here we go. February 20th, 1961. Here is your one-sentence summary from Wikipedia. Andy goes out of town, leaving Barney in charge for the day. But when he returns, he finds that Barney put the whole town in jail. Now, I want to point out, I predicted this shit way back in the second episode. Like,
yeah,
way
you
back.
did.
I was like, eventually, like, this reign of terror, like this benevolent dictatorship that Andy has set up in Mayberry, where he runs everything, has to fall into the wrong hands, and those hands are definitely Barney Fife's. And this episode is evidence. This episode just sits there as proof that is exactly what happens.
This episode is a very effective political statement about the consolidation of power.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Barack Obama Donald Trump situation, where Barack Obama's presidency was sort of predicated on Barack Obama always being president, and this consolidated power always being in the hands of a benevolent, like, I was gonna call him a philosopher king, but I don't actually think Barack Obama was a philosopher king, but everyone sort of thought he was. Like, alright, so, I mean, the Barack Obama presidency was sort of predicated on him, like, the reins of power always being in the hands of someone like Barack Obama, like this benevolent philosopher king, which is sort of how Democrats saw him. And they never sort of entertained the possibility of this consolidated power being transferred into the hands of someone like Donald Trump or Barney Fife. So it's almost sort of the perfect political allegory for right now. Like, it is, we are literally seeing a perfect like cartoon character example of why consolidation of power is bad.
Hey, you know what? I just went ahead and clicked on something while you were talking because I wasn't listening to you.
Cool.
That's
fair.
No, I clicked on something on the Andy Griffith Show wiki. So our buddy David Adler wrote under a pseudonym. His actual name was Frank Tarloff. Why was he writing under a pseudonym? Because he was blacklisted after his testimony for the HUAC committee.
Holy shit, fuck.
Yeah,
God.
He was McCarthy'd.
He was McCarthy'd. What did he write before he was McCarthy'd?
Episodes of a couple of, like, the Donna Reed show, the Dick Van Dyke show, stuff like that. We should look more into this guy, but not right now. But we'll put a pin in that. So
okay, so new agenda for in the near future. We gotta see, like, which of the, because it's probably not just him. A couple people on this show probably got McCarthy'd. I forgot that this cancer was ripping through Hollywood at this point.
Yeah. So our buddy David Adler actually writing under a fake name. So anyway, let's go ahead and start the episode. Andy is getting ready. He's getting his suit and tie on because he's got to go to Centerville, something like that, to go testify in court, as the sheriff occasionally has to do. And this is Barney's big chance. He's acting sheriff, and he's getting very excited about this. He's saying, should we make up a sign for me, acting sheriff, which is very silly because it's only 8 hours. At one point in time, he picks up the rifles off the rack, the rifles that he strokes so lovingly, and says something like, boy, it makes the acting sheriff feel good to have these around. And he's, like, very clear. He says that he wants to have the tear gas canisters out in case he needs them. He says he's got
Barney Fife runs through his artillery. He waves around a double-barreled shotgun. He talks about using the riot gun, and he asks for access to the tear gas grenades.
And these are jokes that particularly do not land in 2018.
And Andy says that they only have one tear gas grenade, and he's hidden it because he's afraid of Barney Fife finding and using it.
Yeah, I mean, again, in 2018, with, like, the militarization of the police, and the basic, like, you know, now that, like, small-town police forces like Mayberry have armored vehicles, it's this joke did not age well, and it's kind of cringeworthy.
I mean, I feel like it's sort of aged super well. It's almost like it's sort of looking into the future. Like, you sort of see the origins of this artillery lust. Like, you have like you have like like a small town cop like lovingly stroking a double barrel shotgun and being like, "Oh, I hope that something happens that I can use this." And like, I think it was treated as a joke back then, and they didn't realize that they were accidentally like carving into the psyche of the small town cop and predicting something really fucked up that was going to happen.
That's basically the setup. Andy leaves, and then he comes back. It's basically like smash cut to Andy coming back, and he enters and he says, "Hey, Barn, job well done. Everything looks, peaceful and calm out here." And they go in, and Barney has locked up everyone. And there's only 2 cells, so everyone's just packed in there. Now, this is to your
Barney
point about...
is committing a human rights violation.
Oh, he's real. Now, to your part about consolidation of power, Andy says, "Why are all these people locked up like this?" And Barney points out that you made him the acting sheriff. You did not make him the acting justice of the peace. So he can't try all these people. He had to wait for Andy to get there to try all these people. Again, it's still super weird that Andy is both the judge and the sheriff, but whatever. So
I mean, it's also kind of a neat parallel. So, like, what cops will often try to do is if you get arrested on a Thursday or a Friday, cops will often, as like a tactic to make you sweat, try to stall for time so that you have to stay in over the weekend. Basically, try to keep a judge away from you to keep you in the jail cell until the weekend hits, so that they can keep you in for 3 or 4 days. So it's sort of weird that Barney kind of Barney clearly doesn't do it on purpose, but he kind of accidentally does the same thing that a lot of modern cops are doing to fuck with dissidents.
Nice. Well, that's a thing. So
chilling.
So then they go through these stages where Barney brings out these people one by one so that they can be tried. The first person, let's see, who's in there? The bank president.
A random farmer.
Who is like brought out there for disturbing the peace. Even because Barney saw him yelling at someone during a checkers game. Except he can't yell.
Flips a checkers board, and Barney claims that he threw a board of checkers which could have hurt somebody and disturbs the peace by screaming.
He arrests Aunt B on unlawful assemblage. And since he arrests Aunt B, he also has to bring Opie in. So Opie is in the jail cell.
He arrests Aunt B on unlawfully assembling, refusing to disperse, and inciting a riot.
Right.
Yeah, because she raised an umbrella at him and wagged it at him, so he qualifies it as a riot because it was 3 or more people threatening violence on a police officer.
Yeah.
And
he arrests the mayor. The mayor! The fat little mayor!
You arrested the fat little mayor! He
on loitering, right?
That poor little man, he could have died in that cell. He was at best at the height of the small of everyone's back. Like, how dare he? He put him in danger. Also, this was basically a coup.
Yeah.
Barney arrested like the only person in town who has authority over him.
That's true. That is true. Andy lets everyone go. Surprisingly, no one's, like, mad about this. Everyone's just kind of, like, tickled. They're like, ha ha! Oh, Barney, you suck at cop. Like...
Yeah, no, they come out super pissed, and then Andy starts trying their cases, and with each one they do, they're just like, they're all like, here's the reason I was arrested. You fucking idiot, Barney. You dick. Like, they go through one by one, and by the end, they get to Otis. And Barney's like, alright, well, I arrested Otis. Surely I got this one right. And he lays out the reason why he arrested him. He drew a line of chalk on the ground. Otis couldn't see it, and Andy was like, well, how is he sober now? But he couldn't see a line of chalk earlier. And Otis says, I wasn't wearing my glasses. I told him this. I'm sober. And so Barney failed so completely that he managed to fuck up arresting the town drunk.
Good job. Good job, Barney. So everyone...
Real low moment.
Everyone leaves and disperses, and, like, for the next couple of days, they just, like, make fun of Barney mercilessly. Like, when they should be suing the shit out of him. But whatever, you can't do that anymore. Right now, it's 1960.
They are incredibly chill about this. Like, they're just doing light mockery. He arrested a child. Being in a jail cell is not something that you can be chill about, especially if it's for a reason that you know is bullshit. So it's like, the episode has this weird normalization of getting arrested for a thing that is clearly wrong. Like, they just treat it as like, I was in a jail cell for several hours while Andy was out of town. This is funny, right? What an idiot.
And they go ahead and they tease him over this, like, basically Barney is just, like, feeling bad. The next, like, 10 minutes are dedicated to Barney moping. Oh, I guess no one takes me seriously because I suck at everything and I arrested the entire... Good! Fucking yes! Good! Like, you don't deserve respect! You are bad at your job!
You're bad at this, and you did a bad job, and you feel, like, Barney feels bad proportional to how bad of a job he does. And no one is like, well, let's teach Barney how to be a better cop. No one's like, oh, well, this is a learning experience so that the one of two people in the town waving around a gun on Main Street might develop some sort of competence as a police officer. Let's just, like, mock him a little bit and sort of, like give him shit.
This is, like, kind of a recurring theme in Mayberry, or is it kind of a theme on this show? Everyone's just fine the way they are. Like, no one needs to learn or get better at anything. It's a big theme in the episode that we skipped, and we'll get back to it. But Andy, the marriage counselor, basically like, well, everybody plays their parts. I guess you're the part of the couple that fights. That's what you do. You don't need to improve or change in any way. Everyone's fine. And that's why, like, this is definitely the, like, top television program of people who don't want to be inconvenienced or change or in any way, shape, or form. That's what you're saying when you're like, I miss Mayberry. You're like, I miss never having to change or alter my behavior in any way.
I mean, it's also this is a hardcore circle back to the thing that we talked about in the first couple of episodes, which is nothing matters except people's feelings. Yep. And I feel like a big component of that is nothing matters except the feelings of wildly incompetent people. Like, Barney Fife commits a major abuse of power and goes on an arrest rampage, and the only thing that is treated as a severe consequence of that is that he worries that he's not good at his job. Like, it is really like when you harken back to Mayberry, you harken back to a point in time where everyone's feelings were incredibly important, regardless of their relation to reality. Where feelings were more important than what actually happened and the real consequences of the things that happened.
God, this freaking episode. So, I don't feel like going into all the details of this. Basically, all you need to know is that Barney mopes around a few days. They, like, call him up. They prank call the police station to try to get Barney down there because to the post office because the postmaster general licked some stamps. There was a fight. Did you hear about the fight? I fucked that up. I don't care. And that's pretty much it. So the one part I do want to get into, because this is a horny David Adler episode, is that to help Andy, or to help Barney feel better, Andy goes to talk to Barney's girlfriend, Hilda May. And there's a flashback. Like, Hilda May gets in the car to explain to Andy what happened last night. And there's a flashback, and she does this whole, like, monologue. She's like, well, he came over, and I did all sorts of things to make him feel better. I talked to him, I complimented, I told him how brave and handsome he was. I even sat with my shoulders slouched so that he was taller than I was. She does some weird shit to stroke this man's ego. And it is not healthy and not cool. But she's... apparently it works, right? like, for a minute.
I mean, genuine question, are these people fucking? Like, I mean, but, like, Andy is clearly dating Ellie. Barney has...
Something going on with Hilda May.
I mean, like, I can never tell, like where, like what the social norms are for two people dating at this point. Just because it's certain episodes, it seems like everyone's just like being real chill and like, oh yeah, we're dating, we're hooking up. Because, but in others, it seems like this is the most like maybe it's an unspoken thing and they're not allowed to reference it in any way. Like, they have to be 10 times more subtle about it.
To make things more confusing, this is the last time we ever see Hilda May. Like, this is the most lines this actress has ever had, and that's it.
Well,
she's gone.
Is it still the same? I think it's still the same character, but a new actress.
No, according to the ultra-reliable Mayberry Wiki, this is the last time. The next time we see, it's a different girlfriend.
Man, Mayberry Wiki is just like the voice of God for this entire show. Like,
yeah.
It is the 10 Commandments.
So Hilda May mentions that like everything was going so well and he was starting to feel real good, but then I made a mistake because she like goes to kiss him and messes up his hair, and he's like he's like Doc Brown looking with the hair sticking up, and so she laughs at his silly hair. And Barney doesn't like to be laughed at. She says this line with, like, the most utmost seriousness. At a point, I was like, are you okay?
Oh.
Are you okay, Hilda May?
It factors into that thing of, like, women's greatest fear is being murdered by men, men's greatest fear is being laughed at. Like,
it's literally exactly that.
Yeah! Yeah! No, and, like Barney rolls into the station, and he's like disheveled, and he's not shaving, and he's not like taking care of himself. Like, being laughed at is like there is.
It's been 2 days, by the way. Like,
yeah, no, and he is like there is the clear thing of like Andy is like, okay, so he's like this is a life-threatening situation. Like, Barney is not okay.
So, and then the solution to this is, again, kind of bullshit. He goes around, Andy goes around talking to some people. He goes to the old men playing checkers, and they're making a joke like, well, you better not get too mad, Judd, otherwise Detective Sherlock Holmes will lock you up. They make fun of him. And Andy goes, ha ha ha, yeah, well, guess I'm gonna have to fire that guy. And they go, what? And he goes, like, yeah, I can't have Barney still be my deputy. Gonna have to pick another deputy. And that's it. He basically just goes from person to person and, like, lightly hinting that he's gonna fire Barney, which, again, he absolutely should. Their response should have been, fuck yeah, do that.
Aggressive non-solution. Like, the least you could solve a problem possible, because he punishes the townspeople for daring to speak up about his wildly incompetent deputy by basically saying, like, hey, just a heads up, because you're doing this, I'm gonna destroy this man's life. And everyone in town is basically operating on, like, the unspoken thing of, like, without this job, Barney Fife has nothing. He is going to be dead within a month.
Yeah, this is literally just to keep Barney from suicide. This is a dark, dark episode.
But Andy Griffith holds a gun to the bunny's head and says, stop talking shit about my wildly incompetent deputy, or I'm going to kill him.
Is this... Like, knowing what we now know about David Adler and the McCarthy thing, is there... I feel like there's something dark, like, deeper going on with this episode. He's definitely working through some shit.
It feels like it's like, I mean, I'm just gonna like broadcast this. This is getting a 10 Fifes out of me, but after a certain point, it almost feels like, especially given the fact that this guy was blacklisted by McCarthy, it sort of feels like it's almost a 10 Fifes intentionally.
Yeah,
it's almost like a critique of power that, like, because. How can you make something this wildly morally reprehensible, where just abuse of power is so, like, laughed off without, like, noticing it? Like, how can you make this?
Even by the standards set by the past couple of episodes of the Andy Griffith Show, this one is very bizarre. And a little uncomfortable, like, throughout the entire thing. Let's just get to the conclusion of this, is that in order to help Barney feel better about his life and existence, suddenly the townsfolk, led by Aunt Bee, waltz back into the jail, lock themselves up, and are like, "You got us, Barney! You're the man, Barney!" And they all just, I guess, serve sentences? Like, just...
They suck his authority dick. Like, they literally, they, like, come up and they were like, "You were completely right to arrest us for the stupid reasons you arrested us. You were right, Barney. We acknowledge your bullshit authority." Like, no, don't do that. Solve the problem by making Barney Fife better at his job. Like, give him any sort of competency whatsoever. He arrested a child.
No, he doesn't have to change. It's this whole thing. Like, he doesn't have to change. No one has to change. Everyone plays their parts. That's how Mayberry works. No one is accountable for anything.
I feel like this show being the security blanket of baby boomers makes a little bit more sense, where, like, a character has a severe failing, and rather than having to deal with it, everyone else comes together as a community to sort of, like, paper mache over the issue. So it's like, it is the security blanket of, like, hey, you fucking suck, but don't worry, that's everyone else's problem, and we're all gonna come together as a world to make that okay. Like, I get why this show is soothing. It doesn't matter that you're the worst. Don't worry, the world is going to, like, take care of it. It's kind of the shit that, like, baby boomers, like, yell at millennials about.
You want to just go to the ratings? Let's just go to the ratings. This is no longer funny. It's got very dark. We're sorry, folks.
No. I feel like I'm happy with how mad I get. I mean, this is the 10. Like, it would not be the pinnacle of reprehensibility without it getting a little dark. Like,
yeah,
we would not be doing a service.
That's true.
Like,
that's true. All right, so let's go ahead and do the ratings now. Ratings for Mayberry on record, starting with the Andy meter, 1. I hated this episode. This episode sucks.
I hated other episodes more than this episode, so 2.
All right.
Andy and Opie Housemakers, it comes up, and I've tried to finish that episode 4 times, so I can't give that episode... I have to maintain room on the scale for how shitty that one is.
Alright. So, and then, like, I guess Fife meter for that one is a 0? Like, nothing really bad happens. Nothing happens in that episode.
Yeah. No, that episode is just a marvel of... Yeah, no, it's a one... That episode is a marvel on just, like, nothing happening. It's almost beautiful to watch.
Alright, the second episode we're talking about, Andy saves Barney's morale. We've both said it already, so our Fife score, how, like, gross and morally reprehensible, 10. 10. This is... there's a lot of shit wrong with this episode.
It's kind of actually really great, just because, like, we've been fantasizing about what happens when Barney Fife takes over the town for the entire show so far. It delivered.
Yeah,
like,
nope. It gave us what we wanted.
Yeah, it gave us... We stared into the maw of horror. Like, we saw some fucking nightmares with this one. Like,
so, the question is then, Dan, what's your Andy score? Did you actually enjoy, like, looking into the abyss?
Oh, man. Yes? I think I did. I think it was, I was happy the entire time I was watching it, because, like, it's like being on a fucking roller coaster. Like you're just, like, sort of marveling at the crazy bullshit that is happening, and, like, it's just the cognitive dissonance that you get to watch. I'd give it, like, a 6.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7. 7, Andy. Yeah. Should you watch this episode? Yeah, I guess. I will recommend this episode. I'm not going to recommend anybody watch Mayberry on record.
Nope. Yes, watch it just because it's like I mean, it might be. We had to, like, look into this because it might be, like, a really great stealth, like, leftist takedown of authoritarianism. Like, maybe, like, in writing the most reprehensible episode of the show so far, he was, like, doing this, like, critique of authority. Like, fucking dude was blacklisted by, so he was blacklisted by McCarthy before this, and he was currently writing under a fake name.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
I feel like that's a viable possibility, that this guy was basically, like calling out right-wing authoritarianism, because this is almost too, like, picture-perfect of a critique of authority. Like, it almost feels like satire, and maybe it is.
He spent the next he fled the country. He spent the next 12 years living with family in England and writing under pseudonyms.
Hell yes! Like, okay, this guy is officially my favorite writer. He does all the ones that go off the rails sexually. He is definitely, like, I guess this time's equivalent of a leftist. Like, he is into some shit. Is his biography on Amazon?
No, like, his Wikipedia page is literally just 3 paragraphs.
What the fuck? This is... I'm gonna find some shit on this guy.
Okay, alright. Let's get back... Alright, so... Yeah, so I'd give it a 6. You know, yeah, for the reasons you listed. Like, this is almost intentionally dark. And knowing what we know about David Adler now, I think that it is, like an indictment. So yeah, this is actually a good episode, and I definitely recommend people watch it. So let's say where you can watch it. So you can watch these episodes if you want to watch along with us. They are all available on Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, and probably all over the internet. Most of these episodes are on YouTube, at least the early ones. So that's where you can watch them. Please, watch along. Tell us if you think we're wrong. Tell us if we think we're way off base, or tell us if you think we're right. You can contact us on the Twitter at Break Mayberry. And thank you to everyone who's followed us and contacted us so far. You can email us breakingmayberry@gmail.com. You can find me on the internet. I'm on Twitter. Oh, by the way, you can also go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/breakingmayberry. I'm on the internet as at Schneid Remarks. That's SCHNEID Remarks.
I'm at the Luds, 2Ds.
You can follow Ron Howard at Real Ron Howard. Don't forget to use hashtag tweet at Ron Howard. This time, tell Ron Howard how much you loved Solo. Tell him that your favorite part of Solo was, and then just describe a scene from Apollo 13.
Fuck with him a little bit. We need to take him back down. We've built him up for the last 2 episodes. We need to humble this man a little bit. Also, tell him that he wasn't that great in Arrested Development. His acting is still a little stilted.
Hashtag tweet at Ron Howard.
Hashtag come at Ron Howard's throat.
So thank you again for joining us. Like this, I'm sorry, this is not like... Normally we're all happy and upbeat at the end. This episode took a lot out of us.
We said we were going to get into some shit with this show. I feel like we fulfilled this promise more than we have ever before.
Next time around, we're probably going to get into Andy the marriage counselor, which we're going to need an actual marriage counselor for, hopefully. Don't want to tease it too much. Otherwise, thank you again to everybody who's been listening. Thank you. Please keep sharing, rating, reviewing. It really helps us get into the earbuds of other listeners. And thank you to everyone who's listened in so far. We'll see y'all next time down at the fishing hole.
This harmonica joke is so bad and confusing that it's starting to drive me insane. Why? It's the most reoccurring bit on the show, Marty. They've done this joke more than the Don Knotts accidentally firing a gun joke. They've done it more than, any of the Opie screaming jokes. They keep doing the harmonica joke. It's practically like the... What you talking about Willis of the Andy Griffith Show at this point. And it doesn't make any sense.